Hi, I'm Casey Smith, and today in this video we're going to be talking about pentatonics on the guitar in use with improvisation over certain chord progressions and in certain keys, and learning those shapes and that entail the pentatonics all the way up and down the neck. So wherever you're playing, you don't feel stuck in one position. You can move anywhere on the neck because you know all these shapes and where these notes are at. And we're going to talk about the minor pentatonics. We're going to talk about major pentatonics and how they're different and how they're really close to being the same because they're the same shapes. So we're kind of killing two birds with one stone. When we learn one set of shapes, it's the same. We just have to move it. So we'll talk about that. And we're going to talk about using minor and major pentatonic together in your improv. So using a little bit of both, depending on what you're playing over. Before we get started on all the meat and potatoes and stuff, we're going to talk about certain things that we need to know just for this video, some techniques, maybe do a little bit of warm-up, and just some generalities. But we're going to start with the string names, because we got to know those, right? So we've got 6 strings on the guitar, clearly. Most of you probably know that. But we've got E, A, D, G, B, and E again. So we have 2 E strings, 2 octaves apart. And when we play on those strings, with our left hand, we always want to use our fingertips. We don't, and our fingers, the knuckles being bent all the time. So we never really want our fingers like this. So there's going to be times and places where we will do that if we're grabbing a couple strings at the same time. But when we're playing scales or being a little bit more technical about it, we want to always have our fingers bent and fingertips like that. So when we're playing a single note, we don't want to go like that if we're just playing this note. So our fingers, it's always, bent like that. You can kind of think of, if you were to put your fingertips on a wall or a flat surface, that's the part of the finger that you want on the strings. When you place them on the strings, you've got, for each fret, you've got a bunch of area to work with here. The place you want to put it is always right behind the fret. So if I'm on 2nd fret right now, I want my finger directly behind that. Why? Because that's going to give you the best tone. You don't have to push as hard. As I go back this way, that just doesn't sound cool. It gets a little buzzy. So when you're right here, you've got less, you don't have to put as much pressure down, and it's going to be a clean sound. So a nice clean note. So always try to have your fingers right behind those frets. If not, right behind it, just in the middle. But the more you get back here, the more you're going to have to stretch to get to the next notes. And you get that ugly sound. So always thinking about this. So let's do an exercise here where we're warming up. We're going to be using both hands clearly, but we want to talk about our right hand picking technique. For this stuff, you want to always do alternate picking. So which means you're going to start with a down pick and then alternate every time. So down, up, down, up. And you can practice on each string individually if you want, just with your high E string. And you have this, and you're just going to go down, up, down, up. Pretty simple, right? But when you start throwing in both hands, that's when it gets a little more tricky. So we're going to do a couple exercises here. And before we do it, I also want to talk one thing about your right hand palm. Always should be down here. So you've got your bridge, you've got the strings where they're on the saddles. You want your right hand just in front of those saddles. So when I'm playing notes up on our B and E string, I've got my hand covering all these other strings so that they're not going to make any noise, because the guitar is always just going to make noise if you don't have anything down there. So to keep it clean, we always want our palm down here. And as we go up playing a scale, starting down here, we don't want our hand on the strings yet because we want those strings to ring. So we're going to go up slowly. As we go up, this part comes down on the strings that we've already played to keep them quiet. So I'm still going up. My hand is still slowly coming back down on those strings. So by the time I get to that top note, I've got all of this stuff totally quiet. And then when we come back down, you slowly bring your hand off. So I always think of it as like karate chop, right? So you're right here, and you're on, off and on and off and on. And so as we do this first exercise, what we're going to do is start on the low E string, and we're going to play just 1st fret, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 4th fret. And we're going to keep our fingers right behind the frets. We're going to use our fingertips, and then our right hand is going to be doing alternate picking the entire time. So we're going to start with this, down, up, down, up. Now we're going to go through all the strings like that. So to remember, fingertips right behind the frets, alternate picking, and you want to start thinking as we move down up the strings to bring your right hand on those strings that aren't being used anymore. So nice and slow, we'll start on that low E string. Moving up to the A string, same thing. D string. And by that point, again, our hand is down here covering all those strings. Now we're just going to do the opposite. We're going to go back. So we're 4th fret, 3rd fret, 2nd fret, 1st. All the way down so we end up where we just started. So let's try that. And we end right back on F. So that's a great warm-up exercise. While you're doing that, you can stretch your hands out, stretch your tendons out. I usually do, you know, kind of yank on each finger just to get them loose. Oh, I got a little pop there too. Crazy. So do that, and now once you're comfortable with sticking in this first position, what I usually do is I'll go up, and by the time I get up to this top of the exercise, I'll slide up 1 fret, and then I'll come back down. Then I'll start right here on the 2nd fret. I'll do the exact same thing. So I'll play up, get to the top, move up a fret, come back down. Up a fret. Now I'll do that and go all the way up till maybe some of my first finger's all the way on the 15th fret. And then maybe come all the way back down, doing the same thing. Going up. And this time going back a fret. So all the way up, all the way back down. And there's a ton of different positions and patterns that you can do to warm up like that. So say you want something a little more complicated, we're going to turn our fingers around and go 1, 4, 3, 2. And then maybe on the way down, we'll go 4, 1, 2, 3. So if I was doing that, I would do the same thing that I just had done with that first exercise we did. I'd go right here, then I'd move up a half step when I get to the top, come all the way back down. Work that all the way up the neck, all the way back down the neck. You can start doing things like 1, 3, 2, 4. So you're going. Then up a fret, and then you go 4, 2, 3, 1. So all kinds of patterns. So by the time you do a few of those and you're all the way up the neck, all the way back down, you should be warmed up by that point. And at the same time, you're getting both your hands to talk to each other, because that's the biggest point. Is you don't want your left hand moving so fast that your right hand can't keep up, or vice versa. You don't want to be picking too fast, and this hand's like, I'm out of breath and I can't keep going. So it's all about taking it very slow on these first exercises, and not practicing faster than what your hands can take. You'll get fast. I know as guitar players, we all want to be super fast. We all want to be Yngwie and burn up and down, but we all got to start somewhere. So if you start practicing too fast, all you're going to do is practice mistakes, and that's certainly not what we want to do. So take things slow. All the stuff that we talk about today, take it slow and work it up fast, and we'll get there eventually. There's no point in trying to go too fast right away and just practicing mistakes. So get it correct the first time, and then we'll get it. It'll be perfect when you're up. Happening.